Bill West joins us, Pittsburgh Tribune review, back-to-back for the Pens, Stanley Cup champions. First back-to-back cup since the 1998 Detroit Red Wings. And Bill West joins us here on Big Board Sports on 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're great. Fantastic. And I know the city of Pittsburgh hopping again. Another Stanley Cup. It's kind of almost every year. It's like, all right, how good are the Pens going to be? And how have they been able to do it this consistently? Let's start there, Bill. The consistency of this franchise right now.
Well, it starts with the core that you mentioned earlier. You know, from the ownership down, Mario Lemieux and Ron Burkle. Lemieux, obviously, such a prominent figure. Still carries so much weight in the dressing room, and when he meets with the coaches, he's not necessarily a guy who's involved every day. But, when he talks, they listen. And from there, it trickles down, of course, to Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, even Marc-Andre Fleury, Chris Letang, these guys that have just been, central pieces of, the team really going back to the 2009 Cup. Certainly that's the case with Malkin and Fleury and Crosby. So you build out from there. That's what Coach Mike Sullivan always talks about, that, you kind of play to the identity of the leaders, which certainly the style of play that the Penguins adopted when Sullivan took over, this north-south, kind of aggressive game. It fits very well with what Crosby does. And they've just really put these complementary pieces around him, whether it's young guys like Jake Gensel and Connor Sheary, going out and getting veterans that are certainly capable of playing an up-tempo game. So it's been fulfilling, the vision that Mike Sullivan has, that General Manager Jim Rutherford has, and probably Lemieux for that matter. Because let's face it, Lemieux is a guy who appreciates exciting hockey. He's not a guy who wants a team built around goonery or anything like that. So it's just been a lot of stars aligning.
Bill, where does Crosby stack up with other Pittsburgh greats?
He's got to be pretty close at the top, right? It's winning the cups that he has, winning the awards that he has, and achieving everything individually. I think it's sometimes an apples to oranges comparison. That's of course been the conversation over the past 24 to 48 hours. Is he equal to Mario at this point? Does he surpass Mario in the eyes of some people? I'm not sure you can ever really compare those two. Certainly individual achievements are intriguing, but Mario played in an era, he kind of spanned from, still when scoring was happening all the time to the dead puck era. But, Crosby hasn't had that benefit, and he never will, unless they make some sort of drastic rule changes. Hockey is going to continue to be a tougher game to score in, just because the prominence of coaching and structure and, kind of the systems, X's and O's stuff that didn't necessarily exist 2 decades ago. And also just the depth of the league, defensive pairs on the third defensive pair, the fourth line of forwards. These guys aren't chumps anymore. They're not guys that can't skate. Everyone is able to do, some really high level stuff in the NHL now. So, Sid is certainly among those all-time greats in both hockey players, football players, whatever sport you want to talk about. I don't think that is, a reach by anyone's imagination now.
Hey, Bill, Chris Honorato up here with Rodger as well. I know you're on the road with the Penguins all season long. Have you ever been in an atmosphere like the one you were in Nashville?
You're talking about the actual Bridgestone Arena setting?
Or I guess the surrounding too. Yeah, but take us inside the arena.
The arena, the coolest thing about it, I know there was a lot of debate or discussion about, is it the loudest? Did they set records for decibels, whatever? It was very loud. I don't know that there's a huge difference between PPG Paints Arena when it's lively, or even last year in San Jose, SAP. When a place is loud, it just sounds loud to me. I will say, though, what Nashville did particularly well inside was the coordination of chants. Peter Laviolette, I thought, put it pretty well when he said it's like a European soccer match where, there's a lot of fans that are kind of on the same page, and they have these somewhat elaborate chants. The one after they score a goal is pretty great, because it's like, 4 or 5 different lines they chant with the goalie, and it ends with all your fault. So I was really impressed with that. That's something that's certainly unique in my experience. As far as outside Bridgestone, it was a crazy scene. Their streets, basically every block around the arena was just packed with people. And Yeah, that's the excitement that I suppose you would expect from a town that's really embracing a championship team. You know, Nashville doesn't have a lot of pro sports history to fall back on. Certainly not of that kind of achievement. So, for them, it was great to see them, come out and force the way they did. It helps when you have great weather. It was beautiful for a lot of those games. They had the Country Music Awards happening at the same time on, the weekend. So, made for a lot of people downtown and a lot of people fired up about Predators hockey.
Yeah, and I'm sure spiked the ratings too a little bit, Bill, overall for that sport of hockey in the Stanley Cup Finals. So next year, does this Penguins team reload and come right back? And would you consider them one of the teams to beat again next year to get back to the Cup? And can they win it again?
Yeah, I think they can. I don't know if the very nature of the NHL season will allow it to happen. It's just such a grind. It's obviously why it was so hard for any team to repeat, in the salary cap era and since the 97-98 Red Wings. But the Penguins still have all their core pieces in place. They possibly, or it sounds like they're probably going to move Marc-Andre Fleury. That's the nature of the expansion draft. Chris Kunitz maybe will come back. He's another kind of key piece of the puzzle over the years. He's an unrestricted free agent, so if they can get him on a friendly deal, which he might be willing to take that now that he's in his late 30s, they can keep him. But, they lose a couple veteran players, Ron Hainsey, Trevor Daley, possibly Nick Bonino, guys like that. They're unrestricted, and again, the Penguins might decide they don't necessarily need to pay again. But they also have the cap room, or at least a little bit of wiggle room, to bring those guys back if they feel so inclined. But again, at the end of the day, they're still going to have Sidney Crosby. They're going to have Evgeny Malkin. Chris Letang will be back and theoretically be healthy for most of the season. So I don't think you can count them out. I know Vegas has them as the early favorite. So I guess Vegas, they're normally not that far off on this kind of thing.
Hey, Bill, before I let you go, I grew up in Altoona, Pennsylvania, so I'm a PA guy, big-time Steeler fan, Pirates, all of that. In that city right now, which is beautiful, by the way. I mean, I'm talking, I was in Altoona, I graduated high school in 79, so early 80s, I worked TV there, covered, Pittsburgh sports. It was always my dream job to work in Pittsburgh. But I've been in Albany for 30 years. Don't worry about that. Anyway, what is the pecking order in terms of the sports? I mean, the Steelers are clearly still dominant number one, but after that, do you have the hockey, the Penguins second or not?
It really depends on the year. Like you said, the Steelers are king. The Pirates have made such a, I don't want to say such a resurgence, but certainly they made a push there for a couple of years where the city was very enthusiastic and interested about Pirates baseball. And certainly things are better now than they were a decade ago where the Pirates were just an absolute mess. But the Penguins, when you win a cup and then you win it again, you're certainly aware that Pittsburgh has called itself the city of champions for, decades now. So they're going to gravitate to the winner or the, big-time winner. So right now the Penguins are probably second. But again, if Pirates can get their act together and be a consistent contender even for division titles, then the city will have a tough choice to make. And I think that's how Pittsburghers want it. The more sports that are relevant and interesting, the better. It's absolutely a year-round sports town.
And the parade begins what? Right now? Is
tomorrow? Nope, tomorrow morning-ish. I think 11 o'clock. So, yeah, I'm looking out the window right now at the baseball and football fields, and it's pretty crowded. The Pirates play later today, but it's really going to be hopping tomorrow morning, I imagine. Hey,
Bill, we appreciate a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. Thanks for your time.
Yep, you guys take care.
Thanks, Bill.
You got it. Bill West, Pittsburgh Tribune